The last night at the asylum name is Jake. I've always been someone who is consumed by curiosity, always chasing the unknown. That's why, that night, I was the first to jump at the idea of going to the abandoned asylum. My friends, Mike, Emily, Laura, and Chris hesitated at first, but they eventually gave in. The idea of uncovering the mysteries of this long-forgotten, decaying place excited all of us. But none of us knew that once we stepped inside, we would never be the same again. The asylum stood on the outskirts of town, buried deep within the forest. Its old, rusted iron gates creaked as they opened. As we stepped inside, the pungent smell of decay and mold filled our noses. We had a few flashlights and cameras with us. Mike brought an old camcorder to document everything. As we adjusted to the darkness, the echo of our footsteps in the empty halls felt like whispers creeping into our souls. As we walked through the corridors, the silence grew heavier. Wheelchairs were overturned, medical files scattered across the floor, and rusted hospital beds lined the walls. But the most unsettling thing was that some doors were still locked. We couldn't help but ask ourselves, who locked these doors? After exploring several floors, we found a staircase leading down to the basement. Laura and Chris insisted that we shouldn't go down there, but I was always the most curious one. Mike and Emily decided to follow me. As we descended, the air grew denser. It felt as if something didn't want us there. When we reached the basement, we noticed eerie messages scrawled on the walls. Most were illegible, but some were still clear. Do not enter the room. Do not wake him. Now it's escape. We stood in front of a door. We hesitated, exchanging nervous glances, but my hands trembled as I reached for the rusted handle and slowly turned it. The room was dark and damp, resembling an old cell. Chains littered the floor, and leather straps dangled from an old hospital bed bolted to the wall. But the most chilling thing was the message smeared on the wall. I'm still here. A shiver ran down our spines. Mike immediately took out his camera and started filming. Just then, the door slammed shut behind us with immense force. Emily screamed, and I rushed to pull it open, but it was locked. Our hearts pounded as we heard a faint rustling sound in the room. Slowly, I turned my head and saw a shadow moving in the darkest corner. This was no human. Its eyes glowed, and its hunched form loomed as it watched us silently. Mike and Emily saw it too. A deep, raspy breath echoed in the room. As it took a step forward, the chains on the floor rattled. We needed to run, but we couldn't move. The entity suddenly lunged at us, and Emily's scream filled the air. At that moment, Mike pounded on the door. Finally, Chris and Laura, who had stayed outside, managed to force it open, and we stumbled out. Mike dropped his camera in the process, but none of us stopped to pick it up. All we could think about was escaping. We ran non-stop until we reached the asylum's exit. Even when we got outside, the fear within us didn't subside. But the truly terrifying part came when we got home and reviewed what Mike had filmed. Mike had gone back to retrieve his camera after we escaped. When we played the footage, we saw something that sent chills down our spines. As we fled the room, the shadow was clearly visible. But the most horrifying part was a scene that showed us closing and locking the door from the inside. But we never did that. That night, we awakened something in that asylum. But one thing is certain, it is no longer asleep. Misty, forgotten town. Echoes of the past. It was a night darker than any I'd known, with fog so thick it seemed to swallow reality. I, Ethan, had set out alone, drawn by silent whispers that hinted at a forgotten town, shrouded in lost memories. Fate, however, had other plans. Later that evening, my old friends Emma, Ryan, and Zoe joined me. Their presence a warm beacon amid the eerie gloom. Not long after our reunion, Another group appeared, a band of thrill-seekers, led by Jack, Sophia, and Liam. Though our backgrounds differed, we all burned with the desire to unravel the town's secrets. In my heart, as I prepared to confront life's harsh truths, I clung to the hope that friendship and solidarity would spark light in the darkness. Wandering the narrow, stone-paved streets, every crumbling building and fractured window seemed to recount forgotten tales. The fog itself felt alive, drawing me deeper into a maze of untold mysteries. At one point, a mysterious melody carried on the wind quickened my pulsated tune from an old, rusted music box, as if awakening a long-dormant memory. We eventually reached an ancient mansion where time appeared to stand still, decaying. Walls, moss-covered statues, and details heavy with history surrounded us. Amid Emma's soft laughter, Ryan's cautious whispers, and Zoe's inquisitive glances, I began to confront the shadows of my own past. In those echoing corridors, each step filled me with both old memories and a growing uncertainty about the future. Jack, determined and fearless, examined a cryptic inscription at the base of a colossal clock tower beside the mansion, a tale of cursed time and forsaken regrets etched in stone. Meanwhile, Sophia and Liam explored a dusty room filled with old records, gathering clues about the town's long-forgotten era. When we reconvened to share our discoveries, it became clear that this place harbored far more than a simple history of abandonment. The most chilling moment came in the mansion's basement. Descending a narrow staircase, I was met by ghostly murmurs emanating from the walls, as if the past itself were crying out in agony. Before an ancient mirror, my reflection revealed not only a tired face, but also the suppressed fears and forgotten memories I had long avoided. In that moment, I realized the mirror wasn't merely reflecting my physical form, it was exposing the darkest corners of my soul. The journey grew even more complex. At the very bottom, hidden behind a wall, we discovered a narrow passage leading to a part of the mansion no one had ever seen, a pathway directly into the heart of the town. Carvings of ancient symbols on its walls hinted at a dreadful legend from a time before time. As Emma whispered, "What could be hidden here?" and Ryan nervously scanned our surroundings, Zoe's vibrant remark, "Maybe we're about to confront the town's darkest secret," deepened the charged atmosphere. The passage eventually opened into a vast, abandoned hall. At its center lay a dilapidated table surrounded by broken diaries. Under the beam of a flashlight, Jack read one of the journals. Its entries recounted the despair, loss, and deep bonds of the town's former inhabitants. Sophia's face grew pale, and Liam seemed lost in the words, as if those pages mirrored the painful, forgotten moments in all our lives. In that instant, I was caught in a storm within myself. The mirror's reflection had reminded me of who I truly was and the wounds that had never healed. I felt a mix of terror and bittersweet relief, knowing that sometimes our deepest scars only emerge in the embrace of darkness. That melancholic, yet hopeful sensation propelled me forward into the unknown. As the night wore on and the fog thickened, we finally emerged when the first hints of dawn filtered over the town. Yet, the cool morning light could not fully soothe the inner storms we'd experienced. The silent understanding among us was clear. This adventure wasn't merely an exploration, it was a confrontation with our inner selves. Emma, Ryan, Zoe, Jack, Sophia, Liam, and I had, in the shadows of that misty town, come to terms with the darker facets of our past. As I left that forgotten town, I believed every step among those foggy paths had sown the seeds for new beginnings. For sometimes, the darkest nights open the gateways to the brightest dawns. And even in the depths of despair, a hidden light awaits its moment to shine.